Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to this little chat today, which I hope you're going to find really useful. It's part of a series of interviews I'm going to be doing with experts in different areas to help you achieve those goals and get that balance that I'm often talking about across those different areas. I've been writing about sort of career topics and setting goals and so on for quite some time now. And I realised that there's a lot of things going on, especially when we're going through the career transitions that I've been personally very engaged in. And there are certainly some areas that I don't have the expertise that I feel that I can really help you guys. So with that in mind, I've reached out to a number of different experts in some different areas where I lack the specific expertise. And I'm very excited to be here with one of those experts today. And today we're talking about money. So I'm here with Michelle Cooper, who I got in contact with to talk about this very important, but also, I guess, very difficult topic for some of us. Michelle helps people to create a profitable business. And I'm really pleased to have her here today. I think it's going to be a help for me too. So it's a win-win for me. It's a selfish reason as well as helping you guys. So Michelle, maybe you can tell us a bit more about what it is you do and how you help people achieve that goal with their business.
Absolutely. So I am an accountant, which gives me the technical skills to help clients create profitable revenue streams and like a profitable business model. Any kind of provides the expert information for things like should I incorporate, should I not incorporate, those kind of things. But I also believe that mindset is a huge part of the equation. And so I work with clients to change their mindset, to uncover their money generational stories and historical situations around money and move through that. Because unless you tackle that as well, it's like a two-sided coin, right? It's like you got to do the work on this side, which is like the technical task kind of things. And then you do the mindset work as well at the same time. And through doing both of those, you can create an amazing business and an incredibly abundant life.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, I love that. The targeting both sort of the strategic and the concrete operational things that you're doing, and also on the other hand, the mindset, which is just as important. I always encourage people to start with sort of defining what success looks like and setting those goals, because without that, we're not able to achieve them, in fact, and we certainly won't know when we've achieved our goals. So in this area, what are we aiming for? What does success look like? And what are the goals that we should be setting?
Well, the goals are always very individual. And that is why I say you need to find somebody to work with, whether it's a coach or an accountant or somebody who does both, or you're going to do some work by yourself and really figure out what your goals are, right? The first thing to start with, like super tactical, is how much money do I need to live? And how much money does it cost me to do my business, right? So if you know that I need about 3,000 pounds to live, like that's, kind of my median amount. And then on top of that, my business costs me another 1,000 pounds. So right there is your very beginning number for your revenue, right? If you bring in 4,000 pounds, you're just going to break even each month. And it's a great starting point when you're transitioning. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to go for this other business, and I'm going to go for, like a 6-figure launch or a 5-figure launch or this or that. It's like, well, let's see what you actually need and start from there, right? In your first year of business, if you can meet your needs out of like you're paying yourself, and you're paying all your costs in business, and maybe you have a little bit left over, then you are a success. That is meeting your goals. Absolutely.
I love that, I guess, as a first step, as you say. And I think we're often very impatient and we compare ourselves to other people or businesses who have been in business for 5-10 years and they're successful. So it can be quite stressful.
I find this all the time.
Yeah.
All the time people they're comparing their beginning to somebody else's middle, or their beginning to somebody else's near end, right? It's like you can't do that. If you're just at the beginning stage, you absolutely have to find inspiration in somebody who's in the middle. But don't compare your numbers to them, because they probably, in most circumstances, you'll feel like crap at the end because you're
Definitely.
not good at it, right?
So achieving sort of break even in 1 year is actually a great goal already to set, I
That's
guess. Yeah,
amazing,
it's amazing.
right?
Most
You didn't
businesses
go
won't do
into
that.
debt. You paid all your bills. That, as an entrepreneur, is
Mm,
an amazing achievement.
fabulous. I guess having said that, if I do want to set more ambitious goals, if somebody has broken even or if they want to have sort of a longer term plan and maybe some quite audacious goal for the future, how might you go about setting that goal?
Well, I would look at those two things, right? Your cost of, you know, living, your cost of doing business, and then perhaps there is an investment amount that you want to make, right? So I want to, invest in this new equipment, or I want to invest, 20% of my revenue into advertising. I want to go to this retreat. I want to, attend these many events this year. If you consider all those things, it takes like a strategic day of planning to figure out what do you plan to do in that first year. I'm working with somebody like yourself who can kind of map that out, right? Like, is it realistic to be flying all over the world in your first year of business? It might be, right? But it might be that you need to kind of do events that are happening in your country at least, right? And attaching numbers to those things, because I believe you create incredible momentum in your business by putting yourself out there. So through networking events and through retreats or other business events, so that absolutely should come into your budget. Creating a year, so being very strategic and intentional with what you're going to do and the amount of money you're going to spend doing it. Because once you identify that number, you'll probably manifest it. But you have to know it, right? You can't just be like, oh yeah, I think I want to go to Wanderlust and I don't know, it's maybe $2,000, right? Like, no, okay, so you got to fly there and you got to do this. Let's put a number on it, right? Yeah.
No, that's interesting too. I often look at those big events and you think, wow, that could be really good, but is it really worth it? And as you say, if you add it up, especially when it's so international now and being in Europe, a lot of the events are in the US or in the Caribbean or something. And then you think, hang on a second, this is more like a holiday almost. Then is this really going to build a business?
And that's like a pitfall, right? Like you feel like I've been working so hard and I really want to go to this event and it's this big retreat and they're going to like swim with dolphins or something like that. But in those first 5 years of business, you have to be very strategic in where you spend your money, right? So what do you think the return on investment is going to be, right? And, who's going to be there? Who can you connect with? And knowing that ahead of time, right? Checking out an event, seeing who's going to be there. What level of business are the people in? Because you will get a return on investment. I have made decisions to go to events that have given me zero return on investment. And I sat there thinking, oh God, this is the worst thing ever. And then I've made decisions where it's been the most amazing thing for my business. And sometimes it's a roll of the dice, but if you set the intention and you plan for it, then you kind of stack the favor, the odds in your favor.
Well, as you say, being strategic and thinking about what are you actually getting out of it, not just a general event, but really these are the people I want to talk to. This is the kind of return I'm expecting from it.
Yeah, because sometimes, we need a holiday. So take a holiday. Don't take a business holiday or some weird thing like that. Actually take a holiday and take some time away from your business and have a holiday. But then when you're going to, go to something that's for business, put your business brain on and make those connections because they're probably there. You just need to make them. Sometimes when we're kind of mixing business with holiday, it doesn't totally work out.
Well, that's interesting, mixing business with holiday, because just coming back to the goals question again, for me, it's always so important to think about what our personal goals are. And I'm probably more about work-life integration than the sort of classic balance and the distinction we've had in the past. And I think a lot of us who have quit our jobs to set up a business are doing so probably more from a lifestyle choice or because we have certain things we want to do rather than necessarily, I don't know, building a business empire or something. So I think looking at your personal goals and this is how much money I need to be able to travel and take those holidays I want, or to be able to live in this big house or buy the Gucci bag or whatever your personal goals are, but to be able to live the life you want to live, right?
Yeah. And, like I'm all about kind of, when you're an entrepreneur, your life and your business, they overlap and they mush into this big thing. But I do try to, if I'm going to travel for a holiday that I combine with an event, I try to be, for the sake of my family, I try to kind of segment it off, right? It's like, okay, we're going to go 3 days ahead of time and we're going to spend time together as a family. And then I'm going to go do this business thing for 3 days. And then we're going to do, some more family stuff at the end, or, whatever, right? So that my mind can function properly, right? And I'm going to be in the right mindset to make those connections and attract those people. And that's what works for me. I totally believe in kind of making it all work the best way possible.
And you mentioned your family there. Do you mind if I ask, how do you make it work? What are the different implications or sort of the considerations we need to make when we have a family, in particular, perhaps young children, depending on our partner's work and so on? How does that affect these types of money issues?
It's a challenge, I would say. I find it a challenge with a lot of my clients. I find it a challenge with myself as well. And I have come to know that I just need to be very intentional in what I do. And that goes with how I spend my money and how I spend my time and energy, right? And when I'm supposed to be there for my family, I have to be there mentally for my family. And, maybe not have my phone at the end of my hand. And, I recently tried, we went away as a family and I left my phone in the room. We went out all day, nothing happened. Nothing ended. There was no
business
crisis.
Didn't collapse. Yeah, amazing.
And they appreciate that, right? It's your family. They go through transition just like you, right? When you start your business, and having the resources of either a team or people you can lean on, for professional advice and stuff, so that you're setting things up so that when you do step out of that business, it keeps going, is amazing.
So getting that wonderful passive income set up, I guess, that we often talk about.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like this weekend, I was away coaching my kids' team, and we were in the States. And like as I was coaching, I had client payments coming in, and it was like, oh, this is great. I'm
nice, ka-ching.
And while I'm doing something with my kid.
Perfect. That's the dream. That sounds lovely. Yeah.
Works, right?
Okay, and I guess as you said, when it comes to these transitions and when it comes to money specifically, what are the biggest mistakes you see people make as they start to set up their business?
Biggest mistakes. Well, I wrote some down so that I would remember. Probably the biggest one is combining business and personal money, especially when you're starting out, right? It gets very messy, and often if people don't start out in a position of being very clear and intentional about what they're going to be doing, most people fall into business of some sort, right? And it becomes like this thing they do for fun that they start earning money at, and then it mixes in with their personal money. So you can set up your own, even if it's just a separate savings account or something where you deposit that money. Having a credit card that you keep your expenses on is just one card that's all work expenses. That's a great thing. So keeping it separate. And another mistake that kind of falls into that part is failing to track your numbers. So knowing what your revenue is, not understanding what your expenses are. In that first year of business, we find, we'll get like a tool, like, I don't know, like Hootsuite or something that we think is going to manage our social media, and we use it for a little bit, and then we realize, oh, I don't really like this. I like this other thing. So we sign up for the other thing, and we somehow forgot to cancel Hootsuite, and we forget about it. And if you're not tracking your numbers, you get all these little expenses in that first year that you forget you don't need anymore, right? And those are what I call like money leaks, right? Like we kind of forgot about it. We used it at one point. We thought it was awesome, but now maybe we're so busy we don't use it anymore, and it still comes off our credit card each month, right? So tracking those, and a great way to solve that, which is another kind of mistake that comes up, is trying to do it alone. So seek help, right? Seek support. Have a bookkeeper. Bookkeepers aren't very expensive considering the amount of work they do, and they're skilled in what they do, and so they can do it fast. They can do it way faster than you can, and you can spend your time doing your business. They can do that part. They probably get it done in like a quarter of the time it would have taken you, and they're going to do it properly. And so the same thing goes when if you can afford, like to see an accountant, seek professional advice, or find a money coach or somebody who's going to work on that part of your business, so you get really good advice. Bad advice in your first year sucks, because then you're trying to, incorporating too early is a big one, right? People think, oh, I need to incorporate my business and become an LLC or something like that, and it's like, sometimes you don't, right? You can be a sole proprietor and carry on, and you don't need to do that right away.
Well, that's an interesting point, coming back, I guess, to the first big mistake that you said, because I was thinking that, in the UK, having a limited company versus being a sole proprietor, a sole trader, you have to set up a separate account. So in a way that helps you. And I guess you're thinking bigger and, you're thinking scale, you're probably looking at accounting support and so on. But as you said, at the same time, if you're not sure if your idea is going to work out and so on, maybe you're, trying something with a friend or something very low key, then actually just experimenting and not going full on for like the branding and the logo and the official company trading. So this sort of separate bank accounts, I guess, is a good compromise there, because you still track and you're on top of the numbers and so on, but you're not yet committing to the long-term business.
Yeah, and especially if you're doing something with someone else, right? Like just having that money separate so that it's really transparent to both of you how much money you brought in and what the expenses were, right? And like you said, a lot of times it's I had this thing and it's going to work and it's going to be awesome, and that is absolutely fantastic. If you have invested a lot of money in stock, inventory, or some kind of technology or something, absolutely you should be incorporating and having a lot of advice around that. But if it's, I want to become a yoga teacher kind of thing, which is amazing, but you don't need that structure around you to teach yoga necessarily for the first year or so, right? Because you might decide you don't want to do yoga, you want to do Reiki, or I don't know, something like that, right? And so you don't need to be so structured in a box. If it's just you providing a service to somebody, and that's it, right? Keep your costs down and keep that money for yourself instead of spending it on, big branding and, the incorporation costs and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so for coaches and writers and so on, it makes sense to be more low level, I suppose, low input.
Yeah, to me, you would be better to invest your money in a really great coach than in a really great website.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point,
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will go for the big website. They think they need the big website. I find people will look at your social media pages before they'll look at your website.
Well, also, again, there's a sort of, you can do a simple free, WordPress kind of thing, or you can go custom hundreds of thousands with these beautiful professional photos and so on. We do tend to get carried away with, the logo and the branding, as you said, and so on. And those things aren't actually going to bring in sales directly. So starting small, I think, certainly for those kinds of professions that you said, coaching, yoga teacher and so on, I think at the end of the day you need to bring people into your yoga studio, right, rather than necessarily have a beautifully crafted website,
or an amazing business card. Right. It's just I totally believe that it's the people connection that's going to make you a success. And so investing in your self-development, investing in a good coach, and your interaction with your customers. Those are like the amazing things that will bring you success.
And talking about working with a coach, and also coming back to the mindset area that you mentioned before, what are the mistakes or what are the issues that people face in the mindset field?
Well, I think they beat themselves up they carry around past money mistakes, right? So maybe a failed business that they're just carrying around like a backpack. Um, a lot of people will hear their parents' voices when they have, money decisions to make, or, money flowing into their lives. And then they'll hear these generational stories that we've heard as kids where, money doesn't grow on trees, and, you've got to work hard for money and all those kind of things. And that's not necessarily true. And you need to figure out how to work through that, right? If you're going to keep telling the same story to yourself about money, you'll keep making the same amount of money, right? It's like that. If you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, you're crazy or whatever. You can't. You've got to change your mindset. If you want to change your income, you have to change your mindset. It's a no-brainer, right? Like, it's just non-negotiable. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll stay where you are.
Well, exactly. And I guess with that in mind, then, what are some of the strategies and tools we can use, first of all, to address those limiting beliefs, I guess, or the mindset issues that you see?
Yeah. So a great thing to do is read. Right? There is a lot of books out there about money. There's a lot of great people. Books are relatively inexpensive for the amount of information they will give you, as compared to, some other kind of programs you need to join or things like that. You get a lot of information out of books. Journaling, figuring out your money story. So creative writing is a great process for you to release historical stories and negative beliefs and all that kind of stuff. So there's a great tool called Morning Pages, which is basically 3 pages of journaling, and it's just stream of consciousness. And you will find that, if you look back, you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't even think I thought that kind of thing, right? And it's just, I'm going to write 3 pages this morning. And you can say, I'm going to write 3 pages about money today. I'm going to write 3 pages about my relationship tomorrow, kind of thing, right? And that helps you. Out of that, you would be able to pick up a lot of limiting beliefs around money. And forgiveness is a huge one. Forgiving yourself for past money mistakes. We have all made them. Like, I promise you, Richard Branson has made money mistakes, kind of thing, right? Like, we've all made them at different volumes of money. I beat myself up for like a year for spending $10,000 on something that I just was not, I did not investigate it fully enough, and it wasn't right for me. And it was probably right for a lot of people. It wasn't right for me. And so you have to forgive yourself, and you have to forgive others. If your parents, created this crazy money story for you, you have to forgive it and release it. There's a lot of tools on forgiveness. There's meditation for forgiveness. There's letter writing. There's, it can be as easy as looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I forgive you for this incredibly huge mistake I made. Right? Because if you don't, you just carry around the shame attached to that.
And I guess at some point we need to let go of our parents' beliefs, right? Because as 30, 40, 50-year-olds, it's a bit of a lame excuse, even though I've worked with those things myself. But, there's a point at which we have to take responsibility, or we should want to take responsibility. Yeah,
and the fact is our parents grew up in a different economic climate than we did, right? And they grew up in a time where, the goal was to get a job and keep it for life, right? And to find a company that you were going to get paid an okay salary and get some benefits, and you could stay there for a long time and then get a pension and retire, and everything was going to be okay, right? And we live in a world that is so volatile, right? Like, even our own, if we, choose to invest in a pension program, like, all of a sudden, I don't know, you wake up one day and you don't have a pension program anymore because it's gone, right? And it's like, okay, that didn't work. So it's a very different economic climate than our parents, regardless of how old you are, right? And so, you need to get over whatever it is they expressed about money, because they expressed something. And as we express to our children something about money, so being conscious of what we say, but getting over that story, that generational story about money. People can carry generational stories on for like 100 years, right? You think about something like, you're in the UK, so you think about something like the royal family, they have a generational story around money. So it keeps going, right? It keeps doing what it's done for hundreds of years, right? People who grew up in like the Depression or in war times and stuff, they have a huge generational story around money. And sometimes it's the reason people end up in like hoarding situations, because they had nothing. So they have to keep everything. And that doesn't work for money. You can't hoard money, because then you're living in a scarcity and fear-based, right? You're lack-based. You need to be willing to spend it on good things, right?
Yeah. And you also mentioned that, coming from a failed business, and that's something I've seen in the past with people too, that they're really hesitant and even sometimes tempted to, or even decide to go back to full-time employment simply because they're so sort of disappointed and I guess they've lost their sense of confidence that they can make a business a success. What can they do there to boost their confidence again?
So again, journaling. Like, I'm a huge journaler. It can be meditation, it can be journaling, it can be talking to somebody, it could be talking to yourself. I don't know. But getting that story out about why you feel that business failed, and forgiving yourself. It might have been the wrong timing. It might have been the wrong location. I've had a failed business. It was the wrong timing and the wrong location. It was a great little business. It didn't work for me. It worked for somebody down the road who all the pieces fit in the puzzle for them and was amazing for them. So releasing that and saying, okay, I tried it. Now I'm going to try this, right? It's everything. It's like the stars have to align, right? Like, it's not magic and that it's just going to work out. You have to be intentional and you have to do the work. But just because something didn't work before doesn't mean that something else isn't going to work in the future. Right? Maybe you haven't found your thing yet.
Yeah, I love that. So I guess learning from your failures and also forgiving yourself. I really believe that one of the key drivers is just persistence. And I think if you just set your mind, look, I'm going to make this or something work. Obviously, you need to, as you said at the beginning, cover your expenses and you need to look after your family and so on. But really, if you make that decision, this is what's right for me and I'm going to find a way to make it work. I think that sort of intention and mindset is what will carry you through. Because if you have that hesitation, unfortunately, it means that you won't go all the way. You'll pull back. And as they often say, you'll literally sort of one step behind success. You'll sort of give up and then go back to something that wasn't right for you. So I think persistence and just keep experimenting, keep trying until you find it.
Absolutely. I was listening to a podcast recently, and he was talking about kids wondering what they should do in life, right? Like 15-year-old kids going, well, I'm supposed to know what I want to be. And he was like, I encourage you to get your kids to just try a whole bunch of different things, because by trying things, you know what you don't want to do. So if you work at McDonald's, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Maybe you wash cars. Well, I don't like washing cars, so tick that off the list, right? Like by having these experiences and by trying these business ideas out, you might find it morphs into something different, right? Like, I never thought I'd write a book about money, but my business kind of unfolds in front of me, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I quite like writing, and now I've got an opportunity to write a book. That's amazing. Okay, 5 years ago, if you said to me, "What's your goal?" it wouldn't have been writing a book, right? It would have been like, I'd like enough clients to pay the bills, right? Like, yeah. So it's gonna change. It might change into something completely different, but it might just be some tweaks and just trying. Just because one thing didn't work doesn't mean other things will.
So sort of having that bigger vision, but also being flexible and open to opportunities that come along and to pivoting, as they say, to find what works.
And being grateful for what you have,
Mm.
right? Gratitude attracts a lot. So being grateful for what you have, if you were thinking of leaving your full-time job and like say you work at a bank and you think, oh, I want to leave my full-time job and become a yoga teacher. Well, I don't know, maybe you can move home to your parents' house to save some costs, or maybe your husband does something extra so that you don't have to go to that job. Trying to figure out how life can support you in ease and pay your bills and everything, so that maybe your costs are reduced a little bit in the beginning, can help a lot, right? And then being grateful for that, right? Wow, look, my parents have this like extra house we could move into.
That would be nice.
Right?
Yeah, but there are, I mean, being creative, right, and exploring some options, and maybe, as you said, definitely probably cutting back on some expenses and making some compromises because you have a bigger goal in mind that is worth making those sacrifices.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we've covered a bit of it, and we talked about the mindset. What about sort of other strategies or tools in terms of the really concrete things that we talked about at the beginning?
So probably, keeping your money separate, getting professional advice, hiring a bookkeeper, especially if you're a creative person.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So creative people, they don't tend to be numbers focused. So hiring a bookkeeper that comes in once a month, or you send your stuff to once a month, so that it's done in a timely manner, so that you can see the accumulation as it happens, right? Not, oh, it's been 6 months, I better get all this box of receipts and stuff to my bookkeeper. And then, oh, wow, I did 50,000 pounds in revenue in the last 6 months. Holy moly. All of a sudden, you may owe tax on that, right? Whereas if you were doing it monthly, you will know that liability as you move through, and you can plan for it, right?
And you've mentioned a few different people there. Can you just maybe outline the difference between what a bookkeeper does, what an accountant does, and what a coach does, actually?
Yeah. So a bookkeeper will do the transactional things that happen in your business. So, they will record revenue, they will record expenses, they will reconcile your bank account to your books, which basically matches the transactions in your bank account to what you have in your bookkeeping system. They can reconcile and report taxes, those kind of things. They can run payroll if you have employees. An accountant can do all those things, or they may have people in their office that will do those things for you. But they really are there to give you strategic advice. So they can do an analysis for you on your margin, on your profitability. They can create forecasts and budgets and really be strategic with you. And not every accountant is like this, but I tend to, I am my client's visionary partner. So if I'm going to work with them, I have to get what they do, right? And kind of be on their little magic carpet with them, right? And, we're going to go together on this, and I'm going to stand beside them. I can't do the work for them, but as they come up with things that happen in business, I will be able to advise them, right? And so, say they have a new product. Well, hang on, what price point? How did you come up with that price point? Oh, I just figured that's what it would be. Okay, well, let's do a little bit of analysis on that and see how profitable it is, right? So as they're working through this, it's good to have a partner in that. And a coach will, to me, I see, whether it's a business coach or a money coach or, marketing coach or whatever it is, they see the big picture. So they, again, should be, to me, your visionary partner, right? So they are, okay, well, this is your big picture of, your kind of empire, whether that's just you or it's 10 people. And they're going to help you figure out how to do this business in the best way. Do you need to hire an assistant? Do you need to hire, another person to do some work? Should you invest in marketing versus technology? Those kind of things. And they're also really going to help you with mindset, right? So they will help you get over those limiting beliefs, and they will highlight them to you, right? Like, this is what I hear you saying. That doesn't kind of go along with what you said you wanted, right? A lot of times in business, we're faced with fear, right? All of a sudden, we're like, I'm not sure what to do, and you become almost paralyzed because you're like, this is all of a sudden pushing all my buttons, right? And it's great to have somebody on the other end of the phone, or the screen, or down the road that can be like, okay, let's talk about this and figure out, where's this fear coming from? It's always fear. It's always fear. It's always fear. It's fear of something, right? So
yeah, I love that. And having those different people. I mean, I find certainly I've got a friend who I talk to, who I really trust, as sort of a business coach / confidant, and I have an actual coach, working on certain issues. Of course, you have sometimes, my sister, my brother-in-law, there's a huge range of people like you, you can talk to so many people, and this whole network of collaborators, I suppose, are supporting you.
Yeah. And I think you will find that the more you put yourself out there, the more you'll make these connections, right? So I have a great friend that I met at an event. I initially paid to work with her, and she deals with fear. So she deals with, like living fearlessly. And recently, faced with my own kind of, oh my God, I'm at the edge here. I'm going to sign this piece of paper that's going to take me like where I wanted to go. All of a sudden, I'm really scared, right? And so being able to call her and go, I need you to help me through this, right? So people can play different roles at different times, and they might transition. She started as somebody I met at an event. I paid to work with. I would pay to work with her again if I needed that. But she's also a friend now, right? So it helps. It helps amazingly to have. It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket, right? And you have all these people in a purse that you can kind of pull out and go, oh, I need help with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you can feel quite isolated working by yourself, right? So I think that's also important, simply to be with sort of like-minded tribe members, I guess, who are supporting you, and whether you're afraid, whether you just need company, or whether you need business advice.
Totally. And, it could be something like a Facebook group, right? It might be a Facebook group you belong to that is very active, and you can ask questions, and people give a lot. Sometimes in Facebook groups, people don't give a lot, but if you find a good one and you can make some connections, amazing, or a mastermind. Like, masterminds are fantastic because, there's 5 or 6 people, and you're all kind of working towards the same goal, and you get the support of a coach, but then you also get the group. Like, there's so much power in group, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of different things. I think there's all sorts of great little tips and advice. So I guess, what's the one thing, if I can today, when I leave this chat with you, when people have been watching this, one thing that they can do, one step that will take them, in the direction where they should be going in terms of money?
Yeah, money. The one thing in money would be to separate business and personal. If you're going to do one thing, open up a business account.
I love that. So simple, and you can literally do it today. And as you said, it doesn't have to be a separate, contract or anything. It's just another account within your existing.
A savings account, or another online account, or something that you can filter your money into when you get revenue, like when you have sales, and something you can pay your bills out of for business, right? And if you have multiple credit cards, like on mine, I've written in Sharpie pen business
just to make sure.
Yeah, so that I know, oh, it's a business thing. I just use this card, right?
And then tracking separately.
It's just so much easier. Honestly, it takes a huge headache out of your life by doing that.
Yeah. And you sort of set yourself up for a successful future, don't you? Because then when you do scale, hopefully, then it's already there. Exactly. So no nasty surprises as well.
So you don't have to go, oh, hang on, what was this? I don't know what that was. That my money or the business money or?
Good.
It's good.
Great. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for all your advice. I'm going to, of course, link to your social and your website so people can find out more about you. Can you also tell us a bit more about this tool that I'm going to be sharing? It's on your website. It's called the Money Rockstar Tool. So maybe you can tell us what people can find there.
Yeah, so Your Guide to Being a Money Rock Star. It's a book that's going to be on Amazon, but I'm happy to give your watchers a free PDF they
Thank
can
you.
download. It basically helps you go through the what I call like the abundance circle or cycle. So you are uncovering generational stories around money. You're uncovering personal history around money. You basically get to the root shame story around your money, and then you go through a forgiveness process, and everything is kind of sealed in a gratitude process, and then it helps you set up a money alignment statement. You know how you want to feel about money and what the outcome is, and some tips for practicing that, and then other things like suggestions for crystals, essential oils, meditation, vision workshops, all of that kind of stuff, like the extra things you can do just to support yourself if that kind of stuff relates to you. And then it has 30 questions around money to journal on. So.
Oh, perfect. It sounds like that will already address a lot of the mindset issues that we were talking about and the mistakes that people make. So.
Yeah. And it's got lots of tips along the way. There's always the action steps. Like I said, do you have a separate business account? No? Go get one.
Yeah. Got it. Message received loud and clear, definitely. And I love also, as you said at the beginning, being a bit more realistic in your goals and celebrating, breaking even and thinking long term, but also taking it in steps, I guess, and not being too overly ambitious. Because hopefully we're going to be living with these businesses for a while, right? So we have the luxury of evolving and succeeding and making mistakes and learning, and that's part of the journey. So.
And if you're tracking your revenue and expenses, you're going to know if you're meeting your, like your break even kind of point. And if you are, then let's revise those targets. And it's an ever evolving thing. You can't just do it once and expect it to be lasting for a year. It's like every couple of months you got to relook at things.
Well, that's great because it takes off the pressure to get it absolutely right for the rest of your life today. It's not necessarily
right?
So some kind of plan and it's going to evolve. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much, Michelle. It's been a pleasure. And again, as I said to everybody, I hope this has been useful to you as it has been for me. Thank you very much.
Awesome. You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.